Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, today we are starting the oceanography portion of the physical geography. And the first topic of oceanography is the relief of ocean, the physical features that are under the ocean water. So we should start it. And I'm opening the slideshow. We start with the name of Almighty Allah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Relief of continents. Although there are many landforms which are found below the oceans, but the important and the few which are very conspicuous, they are the continental shelf, the continental slope, and the deep sea plains, and the oceanic deeps and mid-oceanic ridges. Now, the first and the most viewed, because this is the nearest to the coastal lines and the beaches, that is the continental shelf. So continental shelves are not very deep, and their gradient or their slope is also just about 1 degree, but their extent, this is the most important thing, and they extend on average for 80 kilometers throughout the world. But there are certain areas where they are just 5 to 6 kilometers in extent. But at the same time, we have certain areas where the extent of this continental shelf is almost 1500 kilometers, as in the north of Russia, Siberia. So they are very important. Now this picture, it shows the continental shelf in this area. This area is known as continental shelf. Now the angle that this continental shelf is making with this surface water, this is just 1 degree, and the depth over here, the deepest part of the continental shelf, it may be as shallow as 30 meters, but it can reach 600 meters of depth. So this is the most important part of the ocean in terms of economy, because most of the mineral resources, that is the petroleum and oil resources that are buried under the ocean, they are found in this continental shelf area. And the most important fishing grounds of the world, the Dogger Banks near the in the Atlantic Ocean, they are also found on this continental shelf. This is the continental shelf area of Europe. You can see this is Europe has a huge continental shelf, thousands of kilometers in stretch. This whole United Kingdom is on a continental shelf, but there are certain areas where the continental shelf is very narrow. For example, in these areas, near this whole area, the continental shelf is very small, you can say. The next landform of the ocean, that is continental slope. The continental slope, just when the continental shelf ends, the break that is known as shelf break, after it the continental slope starts. It is a bit steeper, and the gradient of the slope is from 2 degrees to 5 degrees, and the depth of the continental slope, it varies. It might be 100 meters, or it reaches sometimes 3200 meters. This is almost equal to the depth of the oceans. And in this continental slope, we found landforms like canyons and trenches. They are observed, although their size is not that much huge, but they can be seen in the continental shelves. Now, if we measure the border of all the continents, it means that we are measuring the continental slope of all the continents, and it is more than 300,000 kilometers. It means that the total area covered by, you can say, the beaches or the coastal area, the length of the coastal area of the world is 300,000 kilometers. This area is known as the continental slope. This one. Once again, this continental slope is part of the continental crust. Same is the case with the continental shelf. But after the continental slope, the continental crust or the continental plates, they end here. So if you define the continental shelf geologically, this is the part of a continental plate which is normally submerged under shallow ocean water. And the continental slope, this is the part of continental crust or continental plates which is submerged under deep water. Now, after the continental shelf and continental slopes comes the deep sea plains. There are enormous huge plains below the oceans, and their depth varies from 3 to 6,000 meters. And this photograph shows the plain areas of oceans. This plain area is also known as abyssal plain. It means the submerged plains. The next one is mid-oceanic ridges. They are very important geologically because when we study the plate boundaries and when these boundaries are below the oceans, so when they are convergent boundaries, what they make the trenches. But when they are divergent boundaries, they make the mid-oceanic ridges. And there are many mid-oceanic ridges in the world. And the most important or the most studied, that one is mid-Atlantic ridge. That is a good example of this mid-oceanic ridge. This one, this red line, this is mid-Atlantic ridge. And it extends for almost 1,000 miles, that is 1,600 kilometers. Yes, we also have these ridges in the Indian Ocean and in the Pacific Ocean. The Red Sea that separates the Saudi Arabia from Egypt's area, this is also an mid-oceanic ridge. In this picture, you can understand the formation of this mid-Atlantic ridge. From here and from here, the continent, the crust is moving in different directions. Now, where the crust is moving, the magma from this area, it is coming out, and when this moves in the crust moves in opposite direction, new crust is constantly being formed in this area. The next landform is oceanic deeps or oceanic trenches. So whenever two oceanic plates they converge, they move toward each other. Since they are very heavy, and the heavier plates they tend to sink down in the earth, and because of this, for example, this area it develops a very deep trench. This is the sketch of Mariana Trench. This crustal plate and this crustal plate, both of them are oceanic crust. They are heavier, and when they converge, they go downwards, and hence the result is a very deep oceanic trench near the Philippines. This is another trench making, but here the continental crust is converging toward the oceanic crust, and the trench made over here it is not that deep because of this continental crust, and such trenches can be found. We can find such crust near the Chile and Chile's coastal area. And these were the 5 most prominent and conspicuous oceanic relief features. Thank you very much.